Artistic Gamer 7, and welcome back to another speed build here on the channel. Now, the build itself is going to be done, obviously, like just a normal speed build. There's not really anything super special about this build necessarily. I'll get into more details about that here in a moment. But this is sort of starting off like a little thing that I'm going to be trying to do in October, and maybe I'll continue to try to do it. Because I sort of have tried to been like thinking of some idea to actually incorporate some like little haunted stuff in, as well as like just spooky stuff, because I actually like watching like a lot of ghost stuff. I just find it quite interesting, but I wanted to find a way to maybe try to bring something like that into Sims, and I finally came up with an idea, but I literally came up with this idea on Monday night, right before I was going to bed. I was finishing up some editing, and I thought of an idea to maybe actually try to do. And I realized, like, the idea that I have is going to take some time and, like, some research in a way for each build that I'm going to do. So, like, I can easily get it done before each Wednesday, but it took more than what I had given to me because I had plans the following Tuesday, so I only had like Tuesday morning and a little bit of Tuesday night to even work on anything. And Tuesday night, I started this build, and I'm working on this Wednesday morning as the same day that it's supposed to come out. It's probably going to come out later than usual. I try to put my stuff out at 2 o'clock. It is probably going to be more like 3. I may even have to go 3:30 because depending on how quick I get this build done and get it edited. Now, you may be wondering the fact that I'm saying done. Normally when, I make my voiceovers, obviously I have my build done and I'm just going off of watching my edited version. I'm actually not doing that right now, and you may have already heard some of the mouse clicks. I actually have my mouse hidden behind some things and have it a little bit further away from my computer than usual to try to avoid the mouse clicks being too obnoxious. But I'm actually still building the build as I'm doing this voiceover, so I thought maybe I'd try to actually sort of multitask and actually try to get this build done and worked on within as short amount of time as possible. So yeah, I don't know exactly how long the video is going to be, but I'm still making a voiceover because I can usually guess about how long the video is on how fast I've been building, so I can usually estimate about how much time it's going to take. So that's sort of what I'm going off of right now. So basically what I want to be trying to do with some of the builds throughout October is actually take haunted locations and actually try to replicate the build as best I can. Now, I've already looked at a few options, and a lot of them don't give you, like, blueprints or, like, detailed images of what you would need to actually build it exactly or get it pretty close. So a lot of them I'm going to have to get what I can find and then estimate from there, because a lot of them just don't have as many options to actually like choose from. The one that I'm going to be doing first is actually not too far from where I live, and that's why I chose to do it. But it actually does have blueprints, so it's a really big size, so I might have to cut it off and cut off part of it. But I will have to see as I get onto the lot, so I'm going to have to build it on the biggest lot there is. But I will see when I get to it how things are looking, but basically that's what I'll be doing. And then I'll be telling, like, some of the ghost stories that are associated with it, and, like, if it's considered one of the more haunted places from where it's at. I definitely would like maybe some suggestions if you know some that might be really fun to build, or easier, like easy to find, not easier to build, but easier to find maybe blueprints and stuff of it, and maybe actually find things that will help me actually build it a lot easier than what some of them are, because I have, like I said, I have been looking at some of them, and some of them just don't have a whole lot of details whatsoever to them, and it's like, it's gonna be really hard to build these, but I'm gonna try to. But I thought it'd be really cool and fun, maybe a little idea. I really wanted to try to find something to do for October, and also like I said, I've been sort of wanting to actually have something, like, do something spooky related, but I just hadn't been able to figure out exactly what and how, but I came up with this idea and I was like, yeah, this works. And it was like, I don't actually, I have one build ready to go technically to post, but it's a build that it has multiple parts. So it would be more understanding once I actually get that build to the point that it's more ready to go out. So, because it's like a group of builds that are gonna end up being into one build. So I'm gonna have multiple videos leading up to the final part of that. And yeah, so I didn't want to post that one just yet. Like, cool for this particular month, but I came up with it way too late. So now I'm like having to I'm not trying to rush this build because I hate actually rushing builds, but I am trying to go a little bit faster on this one, but I'm still trying to have like sort of a theme going on along with it. But basically for this particular build, I'm actually like trying to make an older house that, you know, it's the old house on the block that's, whether it actually is haunted or not, has the feel and rumors of being haunted just because it is so old and it is like, it is the way it looks, and it seems like a lot of people don't stay there too often, so, you know, maybe it actually is haunted. Maybe it isn't, and it's just all in people's heads, but yeah. I definitely wanted to build, like, a house like that, and that's sort of what this house is, to start it off, and I thought, you know, to start off, I would maybe talk about some, like, little ghostly things that I've sort of went through myself. So I know not everyone is going to believe in ghosts, and some people may take stories where people talk about ghosts and stuff that they've personally felt and just think that myself hard to explain. That doesn't make any sense to me. So as for me, I definitely do think there is like something. And like I said, I do watch a lot of ghost shows. I watch a lot of stuff like that, and that stuff just has always, like, sort of intrigued me to a certain extent. And in some ways, I've wanted to go out to places that are supposedly haunted and walk around. But, one, I don't want to go on, like, some big, giant group tour with a whole lot of people. Because, one, that's just, I don't like a lot of people around me. I don't like being crowded. And also, for something like that, some people get over dramatic about things or sort of ruin the experience because they're either complaining that this is bogus or, you know, they're being over dramatic and every little thing is a ghost, which I definitely don't think. I think there's been a lot of situations where stuff were said to be a ghost and they actually was not. So I'm not someone who's like, yes, that was a ghost. That was a ghost. That was definitely a ghost. That was a ghost. That was a ghost. No. I definitely try to figure out what it is usually and try to not immediately go to like, oh yes, that's definitely 100% a ghost. It can't be anything else. Now, quite a few of the like stories that I have known myself or like I've experienced myself or been told myself actually were in my house. So I definitely don't think my house is like some extreme haunted thing that is like too much to bear or anything. Definitely not like that. I think it's like a very minor thing, but I do know that when it comes to like some of the first things I was ever told, these are things that I was told and not actually experienced myself, but I thought maybe you might as well tell them since, you know, part of the things I'm gonna say is about my house. My house is actually my dad was the first person to live in my house with his first wife. When his first wife and 2 kids passed away from a car accident, it was just him and my brother until he met my mom. And then my sister and my mom moved in. And then obviously there was me. But before I was born, my sister had seen a white sort of figure, white misty figure, running through one of the hallways, and my what ended up becoming my sister-in-law, who was friends with my sister, she was staying the night one time with my sister and was in the room that I currently now stay in, and they were asleep. My sister was already asleep and she was not, and she remembered looking down at the bottom of the bed and see. But yeah, so, and I think I was told my sister had seen it once more after I was born, and it was stay near where my room was. And that's where she also seen it run towards, was what was going to be my room. I personally haven't actually seen anything like that in the house, but I've definitely heard noises, and like, you know, a lot of people say certain noises are house settling, which I get, and I know that my house has noises that is settling, but my house really isn't, like I said, it's not that old. Like, it's older than me, but compared to a lot of houses out there, it's not old. So it wouldn't have necessarily a lot of the house settling sounds like some of the really older houses. But again, I know what those sounds sound like, so I'm used to them. And I'm sort of able to distinguish them from other sounds. The hallway in particular where my room is, because we have two hallways. We have the downstairs hallway and the upstairs hallways. And then when I say downstairs, I don't mean like some big grand staircase or even a big staircase. It may not be grand, but it's not even that. It's 3 stairs, but I still refer to it as the downstairs just because it's an easy way to distinguish it from the other areas. But it definitely is not like actually a full-on downstairs in a way. But anyway, that hallway, you can tell, I can easily tell when someone's walking to my hallway. Once it gets to a certain point, there's a way to tell that someone's walking down the hallway. So I always know when, like, if my friends are coming over, if my boyfriend's coming over, if my dad's coming down, I can always hear if they come through the hallway before, like, I leave out. Because a lot of times, like, when it's my friends and my boyfriend, a lot of times I try to go out and greet them and see if they need anything carrying in, because sometimes they bring stuff, sometimes they don't, but, so I do usually try to go greet them, but if they get down here before I can get out, a lot of times I can hear them coming through, and a lot of times my dad just comes through because he doesn't call like I tell him to, because it's so much easier on me if he just calls me instead of walks down here. Plus, like, he walks all the way from outside to here. I don't get it. But anyway, so yeah, I can hear when someone is coming. And a lot of times I hear that and I'll go out and look, because a lot of times I'm like, who is it? Because usually, after a certain point, usually my dad has said something to me, and if I don't hear him, I'm like, well, who is like coming down the hallway? And I'll go out and look, and it's no one. So that happens quite frequently, and my friends even have heard that before when they've stayed over in the past. One of my friends talks about the bathroom a lot, how there's always like this one spot that's cold, but it's not always the same spot, which I have also experienced that in the bathroom. Like, there's one really cold spot, and you can even be taking a shower, like a hot shower, and sometimes there's still a cold spot in the bathroom randomly. And sometimes the bathroom curtains look like they're moving, like the wind's coming through. And the thing with my bathroom, and this is what I say, like, I don't just jump to conclusions. Because I try to figure out, like, am I just imagining things, or is this, like, actually something? Is there some way to explain it? So a lot of times I do try to look for an explanation. So when the curtains are like, after so many times of the curtains blowing and moving through the wind and stuff like that, like there was a wind, I would try to feel around the bathroom to see if there was any wind coming from anywhere. There's no windows in the bathroom. I mean, most places don't have windows in the bathrooms, but I know quite a few places that do have windows in the bathroom, so just for clarification, there's no windows in the bathroom. It's a pretty small bathroom. And the vent, we do have a vent, but the thing is my dad, he is not very good at keeping up with stuff in the house at all. He is definitely very old school and thinking, like, women stay in and clean the house and stuff. He's gotten better at it as he's gotten older, but he still sort of thinks more of that way. So a lot of times he doesn't pay attention to the house at all, but he's also someone who knows that, like, who also thinks that, like, the, like, harder, quotation marks, work should be for guys. So anything that's, like, involving hammers and saws and things like that. So it's an odd thing that he doesn't touch touch the house in certain ways, but the house is having a lot of issues, in all honesty, and he won't admit to those issues. One of the issues is, well, there used to be multiple issues in the bathroom, but one of the issues that pertains to the story is the vent itself. It would keep getting stopped up by a lot of times bees. So instead of trying to fix it, because I don't know too much about houses, but I know there was like some wiring mesh, or there was something that was supposed to prevent bugs or help keep out bugs, and he did look at it at one point. Like, he was up on the roof or something, and he looked at it, but he didn't actually do anything about it. So it really wasn't any good to actually look at it, but, you know, whatever. But he did see that there was an issue with, like, that mesh that's in there, that it needed fixed, but instead of fixing it, he just completely, like, shut and sealed off the vent. And that had happened years ago, and the curtain thing still happens. That's like what is that? That's not like a vent necessarily, but it's, what are they called? It's basically if the bathroom smells bad, like both of our bathrooms have it, if they smell bad, you can turn them on and it filters the air out and tries to make it, I forget what it's called. Is it called a vent also? But anyway, it's on the ceiling. But then there's the vent that has the heating attached to it that warms it. A lot of times when I've seen this happen, it was during the summer when there was no heat coming through that vent, and we seal those vents off when it's not cold, so that it's, because I mainly do it. I'm the one who does it just because the way our house is built, and I don't trust a lot of things, and I'm afraid something's gonna come up through the vents. And I was like, no, I ain't taking the risk. So I always remember to seal the vents. So that's also another thing. So like I said, I try to figure things out. I'm like, is there wind coming from, air coming from somewhere? But no air at all. Sometimes it sounds like a door shuts, because there's certain doors that make certain sounds in the house. The front door, well, it's technically not the front door, because the way that people say the front half of the section, it's supposed to be the front half of the section. We don't use that door. And that door has a very certain sound, because the fact that it's, like, never used and such. And then there's a back door that also has a very loud sound, because you cannot, that thing is so hard to open and so hard to close. I have to use, like, my whole body to close that door. And I only use that door when I'm, like, taking out trash or cleaning my cat's litter box. And then the front door also, they all three have a very loud sound, but it's a different sound, and the front door has a screen door attached, or what we use as the front door has a screen door attached to it, so that's where its sound becomes a little bit different from the others quite a bit, because the screen door always makes a sound as well. So it's like a double sound in a way, if that makes any sense. And so I could tell the difference in between the doors shutting and closing. And it sounds like the front door, or what we use as the front door again. I keep forgetting not to technically call it a front door. But it makes a noise quite often, and again, like, if I do decide to go out and see if I can find someone, it's not, no one's there. It's no one at all, and it's weird, but I just sort of am at the point where I'm like, okay, whatever, that's fine, cool. As far as more recent things in my house itself, mainly things falling off of stuff, falling down, falling over. That's what happens, like, the most recently. And then I also had this, of course, sometimes I see, like, shadows, but those, it's hard for me to say yes or no for sure, those, because they're literally out of my peripheral. So I don't necessarily count those in it, but I guess I'll mention them at least. But they're usually out of my peripherals, and it's, like, in the middle of the night at my house, except for a few times, and I'm not 100% sure. I don't usually go and say that those are something, because the fact that I did see them out of the corner of my eye, I'm afraid to lean one way or the other. But yeah, so that is technically something, but one of the things that was the strangest thing, that was the most recent thing, was my air conditioner. It was my older air conditioner, but it's structured sort of similar as the new one. But one night I was trying to fall asleep, and I heard this really strange noise, and it literally, like, was a succession of noises simultaneously, but it was the same noise, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense, but The air conditioner I type have is the window air conditioner, and where like their vent thing is, they have obviously the rows of like openings to go to the vent so that it filters through like the filter. That's better. That's the word. But it has those open lines sort of, and it literally sounded like something fell and hit against it. But I don't have anything above my window. I don't have anything that close to my window that technically could have fallen. At the time, my desk wasn't that close to the window. What desk I did have was beside the window, but it wasn't so far over that it was actually, the air conditioner was anywhere near the table. And it was just pillows underneath it because I had like a bunch of pillows stacked on the end of my bed. I still do that. Like, I don't know why I do that, but I do that. I still have a really small bed, so that might be partially why. Um, but yeah, so I have pillows there, and I got up and I looked, and like I thought I recognized the sound, like the only thing that I can make sense that it could have been. But I looked all around my air conditioner, my window, trying to find something that had fallen somehow. There was nothing anywhere. And I was like, maybe I'm just hearing things. Maybe it was just me. And like what I was thinking it sounded like was like something had scraped against the air conditioner. But I wasn't sure, and I was like, out of curiosity reasons, I decided to take my nails and run them down the air conditioner just to see if it was even remotely what I heard, or if I was just going insane. And it actually was exactly what I heard, so that was quite creepy, because there was really nothing hard enough that could have done that and kept all the way down long enough for how the sound sounded. I don't know if I can get it loud enough on my current air conditioner. Let me actually see. So, I don't know if you could hear that from where it's at. My air conditioner usually is loud enough to make noises, but that type of noise on my air conditioner, I don't know. But it was that noise. It was literally like fingers running down or running up the air conditioner, or something similar to fingernails, and it was that exact sound. And once I figured that out, I was like a little creeped out for a while. So I was like, eh. But at the same time, like I said, like there's nothing in my house that has scared me enough to like where I couldn't sleep. So like, meh, it's fine. Whatever. I'll just move on and know that this is a thing. Now there is one place that I've went to that actually was like reportedly a haunted location, a haunted place. But I went when it was like you actually got to just tour it. It was like a free tour. Like you got to walk around on your own. You didn't have to follow a tour guide. You didn't have to go in groups. So there was a lot of people, but at the same time you still got sort of your own personal space in a way. Like it wasn't like a crowd of people, and it wasn't like everyone was asking questions. There was tour guide type people walking around if you needed to ask their question. But they didn't have, and there was paid tours as well. There was options basically. You could go on paid tours, or you can walk around yourself and just read the notes, like the things that they had around it. And it was a series of 3 ships. Well, one was a sub, and I forget what the one's name was. The one was a battleship, I think, because battleships are actually not quite as big as I thought they were. They're not the biggest ships. And the other one was a carrier. It's called the Yorktown. It's down in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. I think that's where we were at the time. So it is a big carrier, and there were still like old planes on it, and it was mainly toward, I think originally mainly for like history stuff. So there's a bunch of old, like, uniforms and stuff shown there. A lot of the stuff is, still exactly the same way. Like, they just have certain portions where they've changed it a little bit for the tourism part, where they have desks and stuff in there. But a lot of it is the same. The battleship, like, there wasn't anything of note that I remember going on. But I do know on the Yorktown, eventually there was one part where my friend's sister was, like, she wasn't feeling too great. So her and their dad sort of stayed back, and me and my friend went on our own. We were all, like, it wasn't like we were young. Like, yeah, we did go with their dad, but her sister was more the young one at the time. We just went because vacation. So, yeah, we went on our own, and it was actually a section where there was, like, only one other group of people walking around. So, it was actually really, really cool and really nice that we had that opportunity to sort of walk around one section of the Yorktown with almost no one there. And there was a few times where we thought we heard noises in a room or in one of the rooms that there were some rooms where they actually had like these wax figures or fake figures or whatever in there, and they were sealed off, so you personally couldn't get in that room. And sometimes it was noises that sounded like they were coming. I know one of them was like where they fixed the food, and we heard noises there. But the weirdest thing there is at one point I was walking, and there was like this heaviness and this pressure on my chest. And it wasn't like I've had like, now that I've had like things like panic attacks and stuff like that where you can't breathe, it wasn't the same thing. It was a lot different. It felt almost like there was something almost holding on your chest, but not at the same time. It was really, really strange. It was a strange pressure feeling on my chest, and like I could breathe, but not fully as normally, but I was still fine. But it was just a very weird feeling, and like also there was started to get a pressure on my head after longer staying there. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say a single word at first to my friend when it first started happening, because I was like, I am someone who's watched so many ghost shows, and I was so excited because the Yorktown has actually been on one of the ghost shows that I've watched. So I was like super excited to be going on this ship, and like I was looking forward to it, and I was just, and now we were in a section pretty much all by ourselves. Oh, goodness gracious. Uh, but yeah, we was in a section pretty much all by ourselves, and like it was more like actually getting to almost in a way tour the spooky scary place on our own and get our own like evidence in a way. Like I was just like super excited and super happy, and like was like, whoa, yes, this is awesome, this is so cool. Like I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah. Yeah. But eventually the pressure did get quite a bit, to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I should say something. So eventually I said something to my friend, and as I said that, I started to speak, and like I hadn't fully gotten the whole statement out of my mouth, and I looked towards her, and she's actually holding her chest, and I finished my statement, and she's like, yeah, I'm having the same feeling. So that was like quite strange that we both were sort of having this feeling of pressure, tightness, that held something on our chest, something that we fully couldn't explain away. But so it was definitely interesting and strange, but it was a cool experience, and I really liked that. That was fun. Still not my most memorable thing that was like ghostly. So my most memorable thing that was like of ghostly feel origins was actually at my grandparents' house. It was Christmas sometime in Christmas. I don't know if it was Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve, because my dad's side of the family has a get together usually as close to Christmas Eve as they can. But it was getting close to Christmas, and it was a family event, and that house is like decent sized, but not as big as the family has now gotten. So it's really crowded, but the section where the bathroom's at, it's like, it's really strange, actually. I think I'm gonna try to build my grandparents' house at one point, but it's sort of strange because there's the living room / entryway, and then there's a door off to like the left that goes to a hallway / staircase room, and then there's a door in there that goes to the bathroom. It's sort of a strange location, but the bathroom is sort of just off on its own, and they always keep the lights off in that like hallway staircase anymore, because no one lives in the upper section of the house. No one at all. The upper section of the house is like a storage area or whatever. And I had to go to the bathroom, but one of my cousins was currently in the bathroom, and as I walk into this area, I easily seen what looked like a face staring down at me through the bars of the stairs, and it even looked like I could see the hands like sort of holding onto the sides of the railing as it was staring at me, and it's creeped me out so much. But for some reason, I can't remember if I had to pee that bad or what, I just walked towards the door, which is right beside the staircase at this point, and just turned my back to this thing. I don't know why I did that. I personally think I was stupid for doing that. But, so yeah, I just turned my back on it, and I waited. And as soon as she got out, I ran into there as fast as I could. I had to wait until she got all the way out, because the way the bathroom is made, it's really, really, really weird and sort of annoying. But yeah, so I got in there really fast, and I went through that hallway after I came out of the bathroom so fast. But I didn't say anything to anyone. Not a single soul. I said nothing. Because like I said, like my dad doesn't really believe in that stuff. And my mom was about it. Like, I think part of her did think that there was ghosts or a potential for ghosts, but another part of her was like, no, it's not a thing. Like, nah. But I remember it was like, I think it was almost February, like, you know, whole, like, way more than a month, but almost going on a whole 2 months, when I finally decided to ever say anything, and I forgot why the conversation was even brought up in the first place. But there was a reason why I decided to mention to my mom about what I had seen. We were, like, washing the dishes together, I was helping her, and I mentioned what I had seen, and she's like, oh, you saw the pastor. And I was like, what? I saw the what? Like, no one had ever told me this story about this pastor. So that house is owned by a few different people before my grandparents. And apparently the person prior to owning it was a pastor, and he actually died in the house. He died on the stairs. He apparently had a heart attack while, I don't know if he was walking up the stairs or going down the stairs, but he was on the stairs, and he had a heart attack, and he fell over, and he died on the stairs. Like, he wasn't, I don't know how heart attacks affect people and stuff like that and things. So, you know, I don't know how long he was there on the stairs, if it was instant. I don't know. They just said he had a heart attack and he died on the stairs. He had a heart attack on the stairs and died. That's what I know. So I had never heard this story. But apparently all my dad's siblings, and even my dad himself, had heard and seen things on the stairs. Like, it was almost always on the stairs and somewhat upstairs. And most of them say they don't believe in ghosts, but they will 100% tell you that there is a pastor on the, like, the pastor's spirit or whatever on the stairs. And this baffles me to this day that they don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but all of them swear by this. But yeah, I did not know that story, and when I seen what I seen, and like I said, I didn't tell anyone about it until like almost 2 months later, and I said something to my mom, and then my mom said that, and I was like, yep, that's probably the creepiest thing ever. So yeah, as of right now, that is mainly most of the ghost stories that I remember, or at least the, you know, the general idea of a lot of them. So yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments below if you have any stories of your own and stuff like that. I find that stuff really intriguing. like I was saying before, but anyway, so yeah, some of the builds that I do plan on having throughout October later on is going to be like actually trying to recreate actual haunted places. We'll see how that goes. Like I said, my first one is a pretty big one, and I'll have to see how I build it, how that's going to work out, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have it. I think this build is, like, the actual location is too big itself to actually do the whole thing, like the coverage that it takes, so I think I'll have to take off some of the buildings to actually fit it into even the biggest Sims lot. So yeah, that's gonna be fun to sort of do and try to build it based off of what I have. But anyway, I hope you're looking forward to some of these builds, and I hope you like this build as well. If so, please hit that lovely like button and subscribe to see future builds here on the channel, as well as other things. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!